Josh Allen has this team out to a 4-1 start. And I say Josh Allen has them out to that start because game when he drives, 3 this season, he's continuing the evolution of what I think his coaching staff envisioned for him when they drafted him. We saw last year, I think it was only 2 games where he threw for more than 60% completion percentage. This year, he's already got 4 of those games. And he's coming off a game where he threw over 70%. And some people seem to think that there's a quarterback issue in Buffalo. But what I think is going on here is that you have a player in Josh Allen who's going through a transformation. He came in as a gunslinger. It's been well documented. He idolized Brett Favre growing up. He came in with that mentality and from a program at Wyoming where he had to do everything. And so what you're doing now is you're asking him to change who he is as a player and the mentality that he plays with. And so there's going to be some bumps along the road, but if you told me going into this season you would get 4 games out of the first 5, plus 60% completion percentage, and with the quarterback rating of, or QBR, what was it, 122 in the 4th quarter this season, you have to be happy with the production that you're getting there and the development.
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, like you said, there's going to be those growing pains. Josh Allen is still going to make a few throws per game that make you kind of scratch your head and say, what was he looking at? What did he see? Why did he throw into that type of coverage? But he's also been great on the run with the ball. He's also delivered accurate passes week in, week out from the pocket. He has really grown in that respect, where when Cole Beasley's running in the slot, he's hitting him in stride. He obviously has a great rapport with John Brown. We're starting to see him get a little more involved with TDL game. Dawson Knox has come up with some great catches here too. So Josh Allen is making that progression. He's improving as a passer, improving that accuracy, which was the biggest knock on him coming out. He's never going to be that 60% passer. Well, now he is, and he's better than that. So even in that Patriots game where he had those interceptions early on, he led a great second half drive to get the Bills back into that game. They were driving again when he got knocked out with that concussion, and who knows how that game would have ended if he had been in there for that. So he's taking that next step. I think that Brendan Beane and company knew that as long as they had that elite defense, something to build around, kind of like they did in Carolina with Cam Newton early in his career. You can win games with him, and you can let the quarterback grow year by year.
So when this team takes the field, not tomorrow, unfortunately. I know in my mentions on Twitter, people they don't know what to do with themselves this week without a Bills game. But in a week's time, when they take the field against Miami, here in Buffalo or Orchard Park, it's going to be a new look offense. In a sense that Zay Jones, who's been here for 2.5 years, will no longer be a part of that offense. And I think that, what does that mean? Obviously, we saw some contributions from Duke Williams to start things off, but I think that this is going to mean more opportunity for Cole Beasley, who I think at times this season has gotten the targets that we talked about when the Bills signed him. The expectation for me was 10 to 15 per game. At times it seems like they've gone away from him a little bit, but I think the X factor here and why the Bills were so comfortable getting rid of Zay Jones is that they still have Robert Foster in waiting, and he's been about 20% snap count per game in his first 3 games. I think we could see a real increase in his time on the field once he's recovered from that groin.
Yeah, and I'm a big Robert Foster fan. I said going into this season I thought he was going to have a big year, and obviously early on here he has not recorded a catch yet. He's been dealing with this injury. But I do think that with Zay Jones out of the picture, he is going to get those increased reps. He's going to see some time on the field. And we saw over those final 7-8 games of the season last year, he was one of the most productive receivers in the NFL. He had that chemistry with Josh Allen, and he had that chemistry where he could make those plays down the field. That's one thing we haven't seen from Josh Allen yet this year. The accuracy on the deep ball, completing those deep passes. I think that's where Foster can really come in and help Allen out. And that's the one area where I still want to see Allen show, some growth here. And I think that that's going to really help with Foster coming back into the picture.
So, for those of you that don't know us, this is Ryan Talbot. I'm Matt Parrino, nyupinsyracuse.com. Make sure you follow us on Twitter for all of your Bills coverage. So, looking ahead, I think one of the questions that we got when we posted on Twitter that we were coming out here was, what do things look like down the stretch? Do they make a move? Who do they bring back after the season? And we can talk about that as well. But a couple names that have been out there have obviously been Stefon Diggs and A.J. Green. You put up a story this week about potential trade targets. And I think I want to talk a little bit about that because I think that this offense, the more and more I think about it, is one big playmaker away from being a real, a unit that's capable of playing the kind of complementary football that I think Sean McDermott and Brian Dable want this team to play. Now, after everything's said and done, they're ranked 18th right now in the NFL in passing, and that's a significant jump up from a season ago when they ranked 31st. If you look at this offense as it is constructed right now, who do you think can be brought into the mix that can really change the dynamic in a positive way?
You know, the one guy that I would go out and really try to get would be Stefon Diggs. I think that he can be had for a first-round pick, and I know that some Bills fans would say, oh, Brandon Beane, I don't think he would do that. He values those draft picks. But you have to think that at the end of the day, Stefon Diggs is a 25-year-old wide receiver. He's already shown that he can be a number one wide receiver in this league, and he's someone that you would have under contract at a reasonable salary, mind you, until 2023. So you bring in a guy like that can be your number one wide receiver. You still have John Brown. You have Robert Foster who can pick up some snaps. You have Cole Beasley on the inside. You have Duke Williams in the red zone, maybe on some jump balls here and there. And all of a sudden, you have a pretty solid wide receiver core.
So with A.J. Green, I think that it's interesting, and it's also interesting that Cincinnati continues to be steadfast in their messaging that they're not willing to trade him. And I think that in a way is to kind of drive the price tag up a little bit for a team that's interested. I think that for the right price, A.J. Green makes sense, but I don't think it's for a first-round pick. Now, where Stefon Diggs is a completely different situation, 25 years old, like you mentioned, and I think that completely changes John Brown's role. If you go back and look at where he was most successful in his career, he was playing alongside Larry Fitzgerald, a true number one, and I think that Stefon Diggs can be that for this offense. But I think as constructed right now, there's one playmaker that has not been in the mix for the last three weeks, and that's Devin Singletary. And we just saw the beginnings of what he could potentially bring as a rookie in his first 2 games. I think he is going to really add another dimension, not just in the run game, but his ability to catch on the backfield as well.
Yeah, I think his ability to catch out of the backfield really took the Bills by surprise, actually, this summer. That was one thing that they did not ask him to do at Florida Atlantic, and yet when he came in during training camp, he didn't miss a beat. He would catch the ball, and he would already be going down the field. So he was really impressive in that regard. Running the ball, you know, they've limited his carries when he's been healthy, but he's made the most out of it. 12.7 yards per carry. They say he doesn't have that next level speed to break away, but he's obviously doing enough to rip off some big runs here early in his career. You bring him back into the mix. You still have Frank Gore, who can run between the tackles as well as any back in the league despite his age. And even TJ Yeldon, I think, has been a pleasant surprise. Going back to that Titans game again, 2nd and 11 late in the game, they gave him the handoff. He ran for those 11 yards. So he's not just a guy that can catch out of the backfield. He can still pick up those yards, be an asset to that running unit as well.
So, bold predictions. I put that out at the beginning of the season. One of my big bold predictions was that Josh Allen would throw for 4,000 yards this season. And he's on pace for 3,600. He missed a big quarter in the Patriots game where I think he was maybe getting ready to go on a little bit of a run there before he got injured, which kind of throws you back to last season with what happened in Houston. But I think my big bold prediction going forward is this team's going to win 11 games, and I think they're going to go into New England, Week 16. I think that they're constructed to beat this New England Patriots team. I think that you go back to Week 4, frustrated Tom Brady, turned over. What was the turnovers in that game, actually?
In the New England game?
Yeah.
Boy, Tom Brady had that interception in the end zone to Micah Hyde. That's the only one I can think of there for New England.
Just the one?
Just the one, because the Bills had multiple. They had the block punt as well. So I think that was just the one for New England.
If you can turn that one turnover into 2 or maybe 3, maybe score off of one of those and not put it all on Josh Allen and eliminate some of those mistakes, I think that could be the key to the division down the stretch, because the Patriots have a sneaky tough schedule over the course of 5 weeks. They have to play KC, Houston, Dallas, and then Buffalo. That game in Buffalo down the stretch, if this team is as good as it's looking through 5 weeks, the Bills, with this defense, I think that could be a division-deciding game. And could you imagine if we get to January 1st, when the Bills are the AFC East champions, this city is going to be ablaze.
Yeah, the city would erupt if that happened. In terms of bold predictions here, I'm going to say the Bills make the playoffs and they win a playoff game. I'm not going to go as crazy as D'Angelo Hall went today when he said that the Bills would go all the way to the AFC Championship game against New England, but I think that they can win a game this year. I think they'll enter as a wild card, but you look at some of those other teams that could be winning the divisions. I don't see any elite teams behind New England and KC in the AFC this year. So I think there's some winnable games for the Bills in that opening round of the playoffs if and when they get there.